Hi everyone, this is Miss Brenna from Sierra Enterprise Elementary, and today I would really like to do a very simple abstract rainbow watercolor tutorial with you guys. I know that sometimes when we do art projects we get kind of frustrated because the result doesn't turn out like we thought it would, or like the example that we saw. So I wanted to do something that's just really simple, that you don't have to think really hard about, you don't need a lot of fancy materials for, and if it doesn't turn out, that's okay. And it's really hard to make a mistake because it's so abstract that you can probably fix anything that looks wrong to you. So this is one that I did last summer using really simple materials. It was very cheap watercolors, and it's on cardstock, which is a little bit thicker than regular paper. And that's what I want to go over next, is what materials you need. So you're going to need some watercolor paper. You can see the sheet that I have here, but you can get like a big kind of notebook full of watercolor paper. This is a really easy brand to find, and I think it's pretty cheap. You can also use, like I said, cardstock. It's going to buckle a little bit more than the watercolor paper would. As you can see, this one kind of rolled up on the edges and it's a little bit buckled, and the color kind of bleeds through a little bit, but it works. And you can also try to do it with just regular printer paper, but you have to be really careful about the amount of water that you use, because you don't want to tear the paper, and that's really easy to do. The other thing you're going to need is actual watercolors. So this is a pretty nice set that I got for myself, but like I said, the other one that I used was really cheap watercolors. Obviously you're going to need some brushes. If you only have one size, that's fine. I have 3 different sizes here. I'm not sure. I know I'll use this one, and I know I'll use this one. I'm not sure if I'll use this one, but I got it just in case. And you're going to need a glass of water. And you're going to need some paper towel to test and blot the color, and make sure that when you're changing colors that you rinsed the brush properly. So when you rinse out your color, then you can tap on here and make sure that no color is coming off, so that when you go to get your next color, they're not going to blend together on the brush. And then one other thing that you might need, it depends on your work surface. So I'm working on a glass desk, so I'm not really concerned about getting paint on it, because anything that's on here is gonna come right off. But depending on what your work surface is, you might want something to put under this, because you're gonna be going right up to the edge with the brush, and some of the paint may come off onto whatever your work surface is. So you might want to put like a big piece of cardboard or something like that underneath, just so that you don't get stains on your work surface. So now we're going to go to some do's and don'ts. I think I mentioned before, when you rinse your brush, make sure that you rinse it really well, but also make sure that you kind of tap it on the glass. So I'm going to put mine in here, and then when I pull it out, see how it's got all those drops of water coming off? So you're going to kind of just want to make sure that you tap it and get some of that excess water off, so that you're not dripping it everywhere or putting too much water. The other thing that you can do is, and especially if you're using the printer paper, is blot it on your paper towel a little bit to get some of that excess water off, so that you're not putting too much water onto your paper. The other thing is, and again, it depends on the paper, it's probably not going to be that much of an issue on this paper because it's watercolor paper, but you don't want to go over the same area when it's wet too much with the brush, because it will tear the paper, or it will make the paper do what's called pilling, where it makes like little rolls of paper. The paper kind of comes off and turns into like a little roll, like a little paper snowball on the paper, and you don't want that, because like I said, it can tear the paper and it can make it look not really nice. So when you're working on this, Make sure that you're working from one edge to the other. Even if you're doing it diagonally, that's fine. But you're going to want to work from one edge to the other. And then if you want to go back in and add any other colors or change anything, let it dry a bit before you do that, because when you're working on really wet paper, like I said, it can tear really easily. So you may see me doing that on this, but this is watercolor paper, so it's a little bit sturdier. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take, I'm gonna use my biggest brush just because it's easiest, but if you only have one brush, that's fine. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just wet the paper from edge to edge, because this is going to make the color spread a little bit more when I put it on. If I put it on when it's just dry, it's not gonna have the same kind of spread to the color. So even this paper, now that I've gotten it wet, is buckling a little bit. Now I believe that once it dries, that won't really be as much of an issue. But yeah, right now it's kind of buckled. So even just putting that layer of water on it had it buckle. Let me see if I can do anything to hold it down. Okay, so I'm gonna get started, and I'm gonna use, for the most part, my most basic colors. So pinks, purples, greens, reds. I'm not gonna try to mix a whole bunch of fancy colors, so. I'm gonna start with a green. So I'm sort of blending the edges out so that the color is getting softer as I go out. So that way when I add the next color, it will just kind of blend in with it. And if you feel like your color is kind of too saturated and it's not really spreading out, you can do what you just saw me do and add just a drop of water onto it. So you're gonna wanna overlap the color so that it blends together. And the nice thing about watercolor is that even after it dries, you can go in and add a little bit of water and still kind of blend the color a little bit. You can already see that since it has dried out a little bit just in the last few minutes, that the buckling on the paper is a lot less than it was. So right there, I just dipped my brush into the water and added a little bit of water to the page to kind of try to blend some of the colors together a little bit more. Hey everyone! As I'm sure you noticed, the video of me doing the watercolor painting cut off in the middle. With the way that I have the phone set up overhead to do the video, I can't actually see the screen when I'm painting, so I didn't realize that had happened, and I just went ahead and finished the painting and didn't realize that it had stopped until I was finished. But I think at least half of the process is visible in the video, so you guys should still have a good idea of what was done to get this result. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was meant to be something that was relaxing, that you didn't have to think too hard about or try to do anything really complicated with, and it also helps you get to learn the materials so you can learn how to control the water on the brush, how much pigment to put on the brush, how the water and the paint react on the paper, that kind of thing. So if you didn't have the materials this time and you just watched the video, then maybe you can bookmark it, and if you get the materials in the future, you can find the video again and try it again. I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye-bye.